Greetings, welcome. Hello. Welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for coming along. This is kind of an odd one tonight, a little bit. I say that. I say that it's an odd one. It's kind of going to be more of the same, but it's going back a bit. Because I was just kind of going through ideas, and I was editing Camlann earlier on today as well, kind of thinking, well, what am I going to do for the stream? And I realized that as much as when we did episode 4, I had Kai on to talk about their sound design work on the episode as the guest sound designer. The artist known as M. Hello, good to have you here. Thank you so much for coming. Audio drama, yes, that is indeed what we're talking about today. This is the order of the day. But yeah, so I realized that just due to various different things, like having Kai on to talk about the sound design of the parts that they designed, but then also having and also, like, the week before, I'd been ill as well, so it just meant that, like, the streams were a bit out of whack, and I realized I didn't do a stream about the bits of episode 4 that I made, and there's some interesting things to talk about there, so I kind of wanted to do a stream with that. Non-binary, did I read that right? Yes, non-binary 28. Love the sweater. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's very, very warm. It's very, very, very comfortable. It's fantastic. It's quite cold in Scotland today, so I'm very much appreciating it. But yeah, so it's going to be like so something to be very upfront about. So I'm going to be on holiday next week. It's the first holiday I've had in like 2.5 years. First proper holiday I've had in a very long time. And just as a result of that, as a result of being on holiday, my brain has sort of fallen into holiday mode like a little bit early. You know, like that sort of final week before you go away on a big trip, and your brain's like, there's a rest coming. We know we can see it. It's there on the horizon. We've just got to crawl across the finish line to get there. That's kind of where I'm at this week. And also, my partner is working for the Glasgow Short Film Festival, which starts tonight. And it means that she's been out of the house all week. Just because she's running film screenings, and she's running film screenings, and she's doing Q&As, and she's doing press. So if you happen to follow the Glasgow Short Film Festival, you've almost certainly heard her voice in some of the social media stuff. But it's meant that I've kind of had the place to myself, and I've been very good, and I've been very organized, and I've managed to get most of my work done before I go away. Like, all of the Camlann stuff for the next few weeks has been done. So we're ahead of schedule, which is the dream. Like, we're ahead of schedule. We're a couple of episodes ahead. I'm waiting on a couple of things coming in, but that's not going to take a very long time. Yeah, we're getting ahead with stuff. And then my other job, which is a non-fiction job, that's all been sorted as well. So I'm kind of done. Which, and you can absolutely tell that I'm in holiday mode, because I'm sort of sitting here like doing odds and ends and answering emails and things, and my brain's like, "Ooh, you could rearrange the office. you could move your desk over to the window. You could put different lights in and other cameras and things." So that's absolutely that's 100% where my brain is right now. So it's nice. It's nice to be there. What is the difference between audio drama and audiobooks? So generally, like, this is very much a generalization. An audio drama, you tend to have it's performed rather than read, if that makes sense. Like, with an audiobook, you have just somebody reading the page as you would buy it in a bookshop. Read it. Whereas with an audio drama, it's like more like a play. It's more staged. Obviously, there's overlaps. You get audiobooks that have sound design and multiple voices and things, and then you get some audio dramas that are just kind of straight readings and just straight narration. But generally, that's a good way to parse the difference. But yeah, so let's talk about episode 4. So let's fire on over. So I've got two things open that we're going to talk about. I'm going to specifically talk about some of the sound design in the main project file here, and then also I'm going to talk about some of the music as well, because I talked about this a little bit with episode 5. Specifically with episode 5, we made some music and then we ended up cannibalizing it for other music tracks, and we sort of did a similar thing with this episode, but basically there's a track that ended up not getting used, and it didn't get used, and it's kind of in the annals of, it's definitely on the cutting room floor of the series, and I think it was the right decision. Like, you can sort of see over here, there's a thing saying unused theme, and because basically it was the opening, it didn't work, and then we got it rewritten. But yeah, so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And then we're going to head on over to the main project, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about some of it, because there's not too many things to talk about, but there is a couple of set pieces that are I think are interesting and worth talking about, especially towards the end of the episode. So with the music, so I'm gonna play what the music you hear at the start of the episodes, and then we'll talk about it, and then I'll go back and I'll show you what the original demo sounded like. So this is Everybody. This is the very charmingly titled "Everybody Dies." So the first thing to talk about is there's no Alessa in this episode for the soundtrack of this episode. There's no Alessa playing violin. The reason for that is contractual. Basically, when I was chatting to Alessa about doing violin for the series, we were kind of talking about, well, this is how many episodes there are. This is how much that's going to cost. This is how much we can pay you. But at that point, I hadn't quite figured out how the guest sound designer episodes were going to go, because there's one more on the way that I probably can tell you about, but I'm choosing not to, just to kind of keep the suspense up. It's coming soon though. Yeah, I wasn't at that point. We hadn't really figured out if like the guest sound designers were going to do the whole episode, or if they were just going to do like a set piece in the episode, and like how much music they were going to do, because all the guest sound designers that we brought on for this series also happen to be musicians, which has been wonderful. But we hadn't quite figured out what that was yet. So basically, Alessa and I kind of talked about it, and we just sort of went, well, for those episodes, let's just say that you're not going to play on those, just so that things are clean, and then we don't have to like figure something out later on. So it's not anything. It's not a particular aesthetic choice. It's not any particular personal choice. It's purely just this was a practical, contractual thing that we did to just, and that's the reason why. Alas is not in this one, but so we're sort of having to make do with that. But like that in itself was an interesting challenge because it meant that I could lean a bit more into electronic music, which if you've listened to any of my stuff, you know that like electronic music is quite a comfortable place for me, I think. So a lot more synthesizers, a lot more keyboards and pianos and things, but at the same time still keeping to that guitar based aesthetic. So yeah, I think what's different. So most of the instruments are kind of the same instruments that you're seeing in the episode. You've got acoustic guitars, you've got the massive synth, you've got the bleeps and things. The kind of other differences that we use, because I knew that we weren't going to have Alessa for this one, because I knew we weren't going to have a violin player. I kind of figured, well, let's lean into the electronic stuff and make stuff a bit more sample based. So instead of using the sort of orchestral flutes that I've been using for all the other tracks, I thought I would lean into a mellotron, which is the kind of 60s magnetic tape-based sampler instrument. It was one very early synthesizer that has a very particular sound, and this is what it sounds like. And then if you add that with the massive synth, it's me. Hello. So we are talking about Camlann episode 4 today. Specifically, we're currently talking about the music at this point. What is this? So this is what's known as a mellotron. So it's an old synthesizer. It was one of the first synthesizers from the 1960s. I think it was made in the UK. Which what's tipping me off to the fact that it was made in the UK was that it was crap and it didn't work. But the way it worked is that each key was attached to some magnetic tape, and then you'd press a key, and then the thing would go down the magnetic tape, and it would play it. So it was a very early sampler, and one of the sort of famous sounds you got was the flute sound. If you've heard "Strawberry Fields Forever" by the Beatles, that's kind of the famous one that uses the mellotron flute sound at the beginning. And for this episode, I wanted to kind of lean more into electronic music, and that's kind of where this came from, or sample-based music. On top of that, also, just to kind of double that up, I did a couple of tracks where I took the Moog grandmother and I made a flute sound with the Moog grandmother and kind of used that to double up and kind of give a bit more character to the lead sound. And that's panned to the left. I believe this one's panned to the right. It does sound very 70s on its own. But this one, the first one was on the grandmother. The second one is one of the lead sounds I have, one of the patches I have on the Mentalog up here. That if you've seen any of the music streams, you know that I use it a lot. It's possibly my favorite kind of lead sound. And then if you put all these sounds together, you get this delightful sort of. And the massive synth over here. Like I keep calling it the massive synth, but it's called massive. Like I'm not. It's not a descriptor. It's the name of the synth. Wow. It is very much like it does feel very slightly psychedelic. But also on top of that, so I'll talk a little bit more about this when I go back and I show the track that we ended up not using. There's a guitar track as well, which sounds really ugly. So that's an acoustic guitar track. That's acoustic guitar being run through too many pedals, and you're getting a really sort of nasty, gnarly sound. But it's quite low in the mix, so you only really hear it in sort of slightly specific kind of moments. You get that really dramatic slide there. So, like, also I was very aware that, because, you know, I knew that Kai was going to be doing the sort of big sound design moment in the episode, and I was kind of knowing a little bit about the music that Kai makes. I was like, I kind of want it to be a bit noisier and a bit more unstable, just because I kind of was wanting to lean into that side of things, and I didn't want it to be too much of a surprise when it comes up later on in the episode. So that's what we ended up using, but the first draft of the episode sounded a lot different. And I'm going to play that for you. So this is the demo that ended up not being used. It's mostly the same instruments, but there's a couple of places where there's significant differences, and I'll explain those when we come to them. Main differences are there's a bass guitar part instead of a synth bass. There's also some harmonics. Sassy Catastrophe, hello, good to have you here. We're just talking about Camlann episode 4. Going behind the scenes of some of the bits that I did, and right now we're just talking about a piece of music that didn't make it into the final episode, because turns out it wasn't very good. And, like, this on its own sounds fine, but like it doesn't sound like Camlann, right? Like, it's also just not mixed very well. It's very loud. Like, I don't know if you're hearing it through the stream, but like it feels like it's kind of smashing up against the top end of the mix. Are there any plans to make/release the score on a streaming service like Spotify? Yes, we are. So the plan is that after the series comes out, we're going to be releasing the series. Going to be releasing the audio drama series as an album on Bandcamp, and then we're also going to be doing a soundtrack release that we're also going to put on Spotify and streaming services and things. It goes everywhere. So it will be coming out. The reason it hasn't come out yet is that the soundtrack is not finished. Because the series is still being made and the score is still being written. So we're going to bring it out. We're going to be bringing that out after the series is finished. The soundtrack was really what made me say, "Oh, this is going to be good." Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. Like I was slightly worried going into the soundtrack for this series because it was somewhere outside my comfort zone. But yeah, it was outside my comfort zone, and it was kind of a new thing. And also, like, I found sometimes, if I'm doing a project where I'm doing the sound design, the editing, and the music, a lot of the time the music takes a back seat, or the music becomes kind of an afterthought. And I was worried that would happen with this series. So it just meant that, like, I took a bit more time to get to finish stuff. I took a bit more time to make sure that took a bit more time to make sure the music was as good as it could be. And yeah, I'm really, really proud of the music of this series. I've learned a lot of stuff. Like, it's been really fun making a soundtrack that's guitar-led rather than, like, piano or synth. That's been really fun. And then being able to try out new sounds and ideas that I wouldn't normally do. And also being able to work with Alessa has been amazing. Being able to work with a violin player has been really, really good. Like, I don't work with other musicians very often as a composer. Like, I when I was playing in bands, obviously I was working with musicians all the time, but when it comes to doing soundtracks, it's very rare for me to be working with other musicians. So it's nice to have had that experience, and it's something I want to do a lot more of. I think the thing that's held me back in the past from working with other musicians has been cost. You know, like a lot of the time when I'm making stuff, I'm making it for either no money or not very much money at all, and it's been wonderful to be able to say to people, like to say to Alessa specifically, we can pay you for your work, and that's been really lovely, and that's been really good to do, and I'm glad we were able to do that. Yeah. So this piece of music doesn't work. It's too loud. It's kind of crap. I mean, like the banjo part's fine. But you've also got this, like, REM kind of guitar part. But you can hear it in the strumming pattern. Like, my heart's not in it. My heart is not in this, like... It's not bad, but it does feel more like a kid's show rather than a post-apocalyptic guitar. That's the problem. The banjo is a bit like... the thing is, none of the individual parts are bad. It's not bad, but yeah, it's not quite Camlann, right? Like it doesn't quite. The guitar reminds me of Outer Wilds. Yeah, that's it. Like it sounds more. I played half an hour. It sounds more cowboy than Wales, I guess. It's not quite, and like I'm much happier with what we ended up coming up with, which is. Like that sounds more like us, right? That sounds more like Camlann. And also, like, you've got Also as well, you've got to remember in terms of like where it fits in with the rest of the soundtrack. With the original idea, it kind of starts. Which by this point you'll have heard 3 episodes that start very much the same way. Different melodies, but very much the same way. So I was kind of like, I need to do something, like it should do something different. So instead we came up with, so you've got, where what I did was I worked the melody into a picking pattern so it was a bit more dynamic. And then doubled that up with a banjo. And then started with so there's a music box in here. Which is being sent through some bisexual reverb. Which song had the pipe organ? Was it this one? So the pipe organ was episode 5. So that's the episode after this, which we covered 2 streams ago, and I think should still be up if you want to catch up on those. But no, for episode 5, that's when I kind of brought in the pipe organ and started using organs a lot more. With this one, it was much more about the music box was kind of the main thrust of this one, and then doubling it up with the synthesizer over here. I think I didn't double it on the piano, did I? But yeah, so I'm glad, like it was good to have Ella go, this music doesn't work, do something else. Like I think as if you're a director who doesn't necessarily know how music works, it can be a little bit tense giving feedback to musicians, especially when it comes to like the score. So I'm very happy that Ella was like confident enough and comfortable enough to be like, the music here doesn't work. Can you do something else? She did say at one point, like, I don't want to talk too much about the score because that's your thing. You know more about that than I do. Like, I'm going to focus mainly on the sound design and the editing. But it made me really happy that she was like, yeah, this music doesn't work. So as a good director does, good on Ella. Absolutely good on Ella. And the thing is also, so for this episode, because I was sort of only doing half the episode, it meant that like I could be a bit more relaxed about the music. So the other main piece of music, and I'll talk about this more when we get to the scene, is very much just the same, just like rearranged slightly. So it's mostly the same piece of music. I've just taken the guitar and the banjo out, and then you get a piece of music that's much more tense. Oh, I added a slightly menacing bass part underneath. And this is mostly synthesizers, which I don't think we've really had in this series yet, not for set pieces like this. So yeah, so you can look at the waveforms here. You can look at the items, and you can see that they are the same. It was just like sometimes you don't need a new piece of music. You just need to reorganize the one that you already have, or rearrange the one you already have. And I ended up using that for the end scenes. So yeah, the music fairly straightforward to this one. I just said that this one's mostly synthesizers, which you hadn't really had in the series, and like. I think one of the big challenges of this series, and I think it's one of the reasons why I've kind of found the music part quite rewarding. It's made me very happy that people are specifically focusing on the soundtrack. Is that I went into the series being like, right, it's going to be more folk. I'm going to kind of go for more of a folk sort of sound, or more of an acoustic kind of organic sound. But it's been interesting, like even from I think the first episode, I'm still bringing the kind of stuff that I normally bring into music, which is the Moog and the Minilogue and specific other synth sounds that I tend to play around with or tend to use. Like it's been wonderful bringing those in a different way. In a way that is slightly new, but is still kind of very familiar to me. And for tracks like this is a really good example of that, where it's like stuff like this is kind of my bread and butter. Like tracks like this, if you listen to The Tower, if you listen to Middle Below, if you listen to anything I've done the music for, like Pit Crawler or Upriver Downriver, like it's this kind of sound. And I'm glad that the show it works, both sides of it works for the show. That makes me happy that the show has such a wide musical palette. And I mean, obviously a lot of that comes down to the fact that I'm doing the sound design as well as the music, so it means that it's a lot more gelling together. But the other side of it is down to the tone of the series, and that comes from Ella and the actors. And it's been wonderful working all those things together for this. So we're going to hop on over to the main project file over here. Just going to get just going to get Minimeters set up so you can see the delightful thing down the bottom here. So I did the first few scenes, and then obviously there's the shopping, the sort of scene in Camlann where they go shopping, and and then they get attacked by dogs, and then they drive back, and then that's when I come back in for the last couple of scenes. So I believe the opening doesn't really have too much. Yeah, so with the opening for this one, we decided to do something interesting with Tobias's singing. So with all the other episodes so far, we've had Di quite stationary, just singing. We've never actually had Di really doing anything. Whereas this time around, we kind of just because the nature of the song was a bit more dynamic, and it's meant to be a bit more of like a working song. We sort of decided in the studio when we were recording it. What we did with the openings was we kind of, I think it was like an afternoon. We kind of gave everyone else a sort of afternoon off and said to Tobias, like, are you okay to come in and just do the intros? So we recorded all of the intros sort of in a day. And with this one, I kind of went, well, for variation, do we want to like have Di like moving around and throwing firewood around and lifting stuff? And that's what we ended up using, because I think it sounds really good, I think. Oh, that was another thing as well. There was one take where I sort of went, can you sort of forget the lyrics halfway through and then start again? And then again, that's what we ended up using, just because it's, again, we're doing the, I think I talked about this on the last stream. It's the structure of the series is kind of becoming quite clear 4 episodes in, and it's at this stage where kind of like, right, how can we disrupt that? How can we surprise the listener? with the opening of each episode, because we don't want people to be like, all right, here we go, here we're doing the same again, you know. You want to kind of find ways to keep it fresh, and this was a way of doing that for episode 4. Just a little,
Sosban fach yn berwi ar y tân, sosban fawr yn berwi ar y llaw, o gath wedi sgramo Johnny Dda.
So, just a couple of little things. So, just a little, very brief, tiny little sound design lesson about actions. With every action in sound design, there's sort of 3 stages, right? There's the lead up to the action, there's the actual action itself, and then there's the aftermath, right? And all 3 bits are important. If you miss out one of them, the sound doesn't work, you know. So if you look at something like this tiny bit here. So the reason why that works is because you've got Tobias's performance. You've got that sort of sound, or that slight breathiness before the throw. So you've got that slight pause before the throw, and then you have the actual sound effect itself, which is this little impact. That's all that is. There's also a couple of footsteps there as well. So you've got that momentum, you've got that movement. So the 2 footsteps and the that little action here. The 2 footsteps and that little sound. That's your sort of lead up. That's your build up, and then you've got the actual action, which is this. And then you've got and I don't think Tobias is doing anything there. But the aftermath is you get that little effort sound from Tobias, and that's what sells the sound as a whole. That's what sells the action. Is you've got these 3 different parts all working together very very tightly together. And you should kind of, if you are trying to do an action in an audio drama, you kind of need all 3. For ambiences, obviously ambiences are just in the background. They're kind of doing their thing. They're kind of a loop, you know, you don't need to worry about them too much. But for actions that characters are doing while they're talking, or like if you're introducing an object and then make it, and then sort of putting that object away, you need to introduce the object before it is used. You need to then have the object being interacted with, and then you need something to indicate what happens to the object after it appears and after it gets used. Because the worst thing you want to happen is it suddenly appears, it gets used, and then it suddenly disappears again. Like that's not believable. That's not really what happens. So a lot of the time it tends to sort itself out. But if you're kind of wanting more of a framework to think about how to sell an action in an audio drama, or if you've got an action in an audio drama or in a sound design edit and it's not working and it doesn't sound real for whatever reason, think about what happens directly before the sound, what happens when the sound actually happens, and then think about what happens afterwards, right? There's another episode coming up where I'll kind of talk about this a little bit more, but I can't tell you anything about it without a spoiler. So basically, the next episode that's coming out on Monday, when I go into the sound design for it, I'll talk a bit more in depth about this idea of selling actions. With the next episode, in episode 6, there's a lot of focusing on the aftermath of actions. But I'm not going to say any more about it because it's a spoiler. But anyway, so that's a little sound design lesson that you can get from this tiny little bit of audio here. And then the same principle happens here. Also, so this action here, that's just me. So like the original audio,
berwi ar y llawr. A gath wedi sgramo Johnny bach.
So basically, I kind of thought just to round off the scene a little bit, thought it'd be good after throwing all these logs and stuff to kind of just have that kind of sound. It's a sound I've used quite like I'm sort of realized it today. It's a sound I use quite a lot in the series after things have happened, just because it's a really easy way to, again, it's a really good as an aftermath for an action, because it sort of again it gives the characters a body, it gives them arms, it gives them legs, it gives them hands. So I was just recording it. I just had this mic here, hit record, just went, and then boom, sound design. And then just some footsteps walking away, as I think Tobias just naturally walks away from the microphone here. Yeah, just naturally moving away from the microphone, so you want to kind of lean into that. So Di may or may not have done something wildly reckless, and thus the fallout. I'm not saying anything. You'll have to tune in on Monday when episode 6 of Camlann is released. Yeah. So I might as well. Yeah, I'll kind of talk about. I'll talk about. I'll say this at the end, but I'll kind of say it now as well. So there won't be any streams next week. The reason is that I'm going on holiday. I'm going on holiday to New York for a week, and so I won't be doing any streams because I'll be on holiday and I'll be resting and I'll be not doing any work. I'm going to try my best to not even think about work as much as possible while I'm away. But yeah, episode 6 already. Yeah, right. Like I can't believe the series we're already on episode 6. Like, and also you've got it. Like also like to give you an idea of where we're at in the series in terms of the production. I signed off episode 7 today, so we're a couple of episodes ahead. So like I'm gonna come back, and then there's I'm gonna get back, and then there's the final 2 episodes. So it's nice to have a rest now, because it means that because the episode 5 and episode 6, I have been feeling like the mid-project slump, where it feels like episode 5 in particular was quite a slog, and that's not a comment on the writing or anything like that. It's just it's 5 episodes in. That's in the middle of the series, and I think just as you get into the middle of a series edit, your energy and your enthusiasm does naturally decrease slightly, just because you've been working really hard at it and you've been hard at it. So I'm really glad to be taking a break right before, and then when I come back, I'll be doing the final 2 episodes, which you're not ready. But yeah, so I'm glad to have the break. But I will still be talking about episode 6 when I get back. I'll be back on the week of the 1st of April, and those 2 streams I'll be going behind the scenes of episode 6. But there won't be a listen along stream, sadly, this week. Have fun in New York. Thank you very, very much. Upstate or New York City? New York City. So I'll tell you this story because it's quite funny. So it's actually tied to the series in a weird way. So when we were recording Camlann, so we recorded it here, and this is my home, and basically I sort of took over the flat for a week, and my partner decided, right, well, if you're going to be doing that, I'm gonna go on holiday for a week. I'm gonna go away. I'm gonna go on a trip. So we actually figured this out. So my partner and a friend that she's known since went to school with, who's a teacher. Every year around October, there's like a 2-week break. There's a 2-week break in the school year. And normally what my partner and our friend Lindsay have started doing is going away for a week somewhere in Europe. So a couple of years ago they went to Barcelona, and then last year they decided to go to Norway for a week, which was really lovely. And also like it, as much as it sounds like I'm turfing my wife out of the flat when I need to get work done, it does happen the other way. There's been a couple of times where we've used this, where Sarah, my partner, has used this flat for film shoots. And that's usually been going on over like a week or a few days. And then normally when that happens, I go away for a week as well. Like it's, I should stress for this New York trip, we're going away together. We do love each other. We are going away on a holiday together. We do spend time together, I promise. But anyway, so, I'm here recording Camlann. Sarah is in Norway. I think it's halfway through the week, and we're kind of just getting things ready to go in the morning, and I get a phone call from Sarah from Norway, and she says, "We're going to New York," and I'm like, "What?" And so, just to give you a bit of context here, Sarah's parents are massive Billy Joel fans, and this will become important in a second. Like massive Billy Joel fans. They've seen him live a few times. Like they've got all of his albums. They go to tribute acts, and it's this constant. When you go spend time with them, it is this constant soundtrack of Billy Joel. It comes up on all the playlists, and Sarah has grown up with Billy Joel and loves his music very dearly. My example of that is I grew up with, Queen and Phil Collins, which, it's a race to the bottom to see who's cooler, really. But Sarah's parents heard, so for the past few years, Billy Joel has been doing one show a month at Madison Square Gardens. It's the longest music residency in history, I think. And announced in October last year, because that's when we recorded Camlann, that he was not going to do those shows anymore. And it sounded an awful lot like Billy Joel was retiring from performing. And Sarah's parents, massive Billy Joel fans, phoned Sarah and said, you and Amber are going to New York because we think it's important that you see Billy Joel live before he retires. So we're... so don't tell anyone, but I'm going to New York to see Billy Joel at Madison Square Gardens, which is a very odd thing to say. But see, the thing is though, it gets sillier, right? So a few months ago, so the reason why Billy Joel is stopping the Madison Square Gardens show is not because he's retiring from performing. It's because he's got a new album out and is going on a world tour. So we could have just seen Billy Joel in Cardiff. Which is also thematic to this show, because Cardiff is in Wales. But so yeah, we could... I mean, I'm not complaining. I just think it's very funny. So we're going to New York to see Billy Joel, but we're going to see some other things as well. But we're going to go to... We've got tickets to go to Birdland, which is a dream come true for me. Like Birdland, some of the best, like Birdland and the Village Vanguard, are two like incredibly famous jazz venues that I've always wanted to go to, and we're getting to visit both on this trip, which is beautiful and amazing, and I'm really, really excited. We're also going to the Hayden Planetarium, which is another dream place I've always wanted to visit. And then also, so the company that I work for, I do freelance work for, they're based in New York. So I'm going to finally I'm going to basically go along one morning and meet everyone in person, which I'm slightly scared about, to be honest, because I've sort of worked with these people for about 4 or 5 years now. Never met them in person. I've only ever sort of, spoken to them in this capacity, so I remember there's one time, it was when I met Lou, who's a regular viewer here. I think one of the first things he said to me was, "It's really weird seeing you with legs," because they'd only sort of seen me like this, So I do have legs. I promise. I've got legs. I'm not gonna show them to you because I'm currently just in leggings, and that's not particularly good for anyone. It's just because it's hot. God damn it. Anyway, so This is a very long-winded way of saying next week. I'm no streams next week because I'm going to be in Cardiff. No, I'm not going to be in Cardiff. I'm going to be in New York. I'm gonna be in New York, watching Billy Joel, singing a song for I Am the Piano Man. Except I'm really not on either account. Okay. Right, what's the next scene? So we've got what's this scene here? Have fun in Cardiff. Very good. Very good. You got me. You got me. You got to go to Madison Square Gardens at least once. I am excited to go. Also, reason you can't go to the Cardiff show too. Well, Sarah's parents are going to the Cardiff show. Also, like, I think we are due to be in Cardiff at some point because there's a comedy festival I think Sarah's going to that I kind of want to go along to as well. Also, I really like Cardiff. I think it's a wonderful city. I did some work there for Murmurs, which is a BBC Sounds project, and then I interviewed for a job there once, and I didn't get it. Mysterious, hello, good to see you. I hope you are well. I'm just talking about Cardiff, which is a city I love very, very much. I very nearly moved there because I interviewed for a job at the BBC. Would have been 2018 or so, and I came out of it kind of going like, oh hey, like I think I did okay in that interview, and I sort of came out with that feeling of if I don't get the job, it's because there's somebody who's more qualified than I am. You know, I did a really good interview, but it wasn't until a bit later on that I realized I probably didn't get it because I kind of maybe a little bit said that all BBC radio dramas are kind of crap. But I believe I said something along the lines of when you're listening to a lot of BBC radio drama, it's kind of got this defeated tone to it, as though it kind of knows that nobody wants to listen to it. Which, you know, I personally think is quite a good line, if anything else. But I probably shouldn't have been surprised that I didn't get that job. However, I did end up getting some freelance work through BBC Cardiff, through BBC Sounds, through Cardiff, which was incredible. Like if you haven't heard Murmurs, like please do check it out. Like it was very much, it was an experiment for the BBC. They were like, what if we take a load of indie podcasters and show them how we make things. And it was the first time I'd been in a proper radio studio. It was the first time I'd directed in a radio studio. It was the first time I'd had loads of moving parts, and I wasn't just doing everything myself. And it very much felt like I was growing up when I was doing that project, because it was how, and everyone at BBC Cardiff was really, really lovely. BBC Cymru was really, really lovely. They every single person was like, "Do you want me to show you how this works?" And every time I said yes, and everyone was really, really kind and lovely and fantastic. And yeah, I had a really, really good experience with Murmurs. And I think it was the moment I went from being a sort of hobbyist audio drama creator to like a professional, because it was this feeling of like, oh, I know how to do this now. And also I've sort of had this slight trial by fire putting this together and making this project and directing this project. I learned a lot on that project, and I really appreciate it. So I think this episode is the first time we have an eating scene, like a breakfast. Oh no, it's not. Sorry, it's the first. It's not quite, because we had one in episode 3, but this is the sort of first full one, and I love it. Like I loved setting these up. Oops.
Perry, you had a head wound 3 days ago. Sit down.
A head wound which doesn't exist anymore. That happens to you as well?
Right, you're Guinevere. Yeah, injuries only stick around while they're plot relevant. No, Rudyard doesn't get his head cracked open by Lantern Man, so our Perry magically heals.
Guinevere never really gets hurt by anything. Not even her pyre, as long as Lancelot shows up in time to save her. I'm trying not to think about it.
It's okay. Just because they speak with confidence doesn't mean they know how this works. None of us do.
We've figured out some things.
Like the fact that my bonfire was a great idea.
Okay. So, this isn't anything.
Like the fact that my bonfire was a great idea.
But when I was editing this, so there is such a thing as editor brain, right? Where you latch on to really small things that aren't funny, but they somehow become the funniest thing in the world because you're editing and it destroys your brain while you get this sort of editing madness. So to editor Amber, this sounded a lot like Tobias was saying bumfire.
Like the fact that my bonfire was a great idea. Right.
And now I've ruined that for you forever. Anyway, so things that make this scene work. It does sound like bumfire. Thank you. I'm glad it's not just me. There's lots of different sounds going on here. That wasn't what he said. No, he's saying bonfire. Ironically, it keeps us sane during long editing sessions. It does. I very much learned this through film editing, where because I was doing the sound and the music, I'd be staying I learned how to make music for media by doing the 48-hour film festival over here in Scotland, where you have 48 hours to make a film from start to end. And because I was in post-production, it meant that I was always up in the middle of the night from 8 p.m. through till 8 a.m. With the editor, the film editor, doing the music and the sound design concurrently. And you just end up watching the film so many times. You end up watching this you go over this piece of media so many times. It's either you come out the other side of it absolutely hating it, or you latch onto tiny things and make fun of it in a sort of loving way. And that has absolutely, and it does stop you from hating the thing that you're working on. The 48-hour film festival. I learned a lot from the 48-hour film festival. Both me and Sarah have gained a lot through the 48-hour film festival. I think it's a good way of developing good habits. It's a good way of learning how to work with people, because you just don't have time to have an ego. If you have an ego, you're not going to make anything good. So it's a very good way to learn where you pick your battles and where best to do them, and and you realize you sort of learn how to best support a project rather than sucking all the oxygen in the room. So yeah, I did one of those in college. It was we ended up doing them we ended up doing far too many of them, but it did yeah, I'm glad we did them, but I'm also very glad to not do them anymore. It also highlights the friction points in your process, and to let things be good enough for long enough to be good enough. That's a really good way of putting it. It's a very eloquent way of putting it. It kind of, from a music perspective, you realize, you learn very quickly what works and what doesn't, and you kind of learn to be not utilitarian, but you get to learn better done than perfect. That's you sort of realize that it's not going to be perfect, and you're not gonna this isn't going to be your Magnum. This isn't going to be your Blade Runner. This isn't going to be your Dune Part 2. This isn't going to be this isn't going to be your The Mission. So yeah, and I think the sooner you realize that, the better. Right. So what makes this scene work? So first of all, sometimes in sound design, you just need a lot of noise. what's tying this scene together, what's tying all these noises together, is I believe it's this one up here. So that is bacon. Well, I say it's bacon frying. It's vegetarian sausages frying, because I don't eat meat.
His head cracked open by.
So and there's also gas. It's not an actual gas hob, but it's a camping stove. So you put these two sounds together, you get breakfast. But the thing is, so that's what's holding all the other sounds together. Because if you take them out, it sounds a bit more scattered and random, right? Whereas if you put these sounds underneath, it creates a nice little ambience, and it just... gives it that tiny bit more life. It just makes it sound a bit more cohesive. Because these have all been pretty much placed at random, just to give this sense of movement.
Only stick around while they're plot relevant.
And then you've also got Gel walking around begging for food, which I really love doing. And then you've obviously got the dialogue underneath it. Yeah, I'm going to keep talking about how much I love these scenes, but I do. I love the scenes where they're sitting down having breakfast or having food together and talking about stuff. It just makes me really happy. And it's nice that in a series like this, we have time to sit down and have these sort of slightly more peaceful scenes, as well as having these incredibly breathless action sequences. It's nice to have both, especially in an episode like this.
No burning? It's pouring with rain.
Oh, I gave it a roof. Found a tarpaulin in the garage.
Because everyone loves the smell of burning plastic.
And huge.
So the way we recorded give Geller all the food he wants. Oh, I found a specific sound of a dog having treats.
Like the fact that
Was
my
it this
bomb...
episode I used them?
Honestly,
What? What?
Oh no, that's an egg being cracked. So I've got, yeah. So the sounds of like eggs being cracked and it's just called breakfast sounds. There is a sound somewhere of snacks being eaten. I don't think I used it here, sadly. Oh no, I didn't. I'm so sorry. Well, Geller has some water here. That's also very important. Downtime scenes are important to drama because it makes the peaks and troughs more pronounced. Exactly, and also like I've not. This is the biggest project I've worked on in terms of scale. I mean, like look at this project file. Like I'm going to be very careful not to accidentally show you episode 7, but or episode 6. Whoops, there we go. But like, look at this. Just look at that. That's not even all the tracks, right? Like so if I unminimize all these, you know, so that's these are all monster tracks. And then you've got underwater scenes from episode 2, you've got the radio stuff. Then you've got, these are all the vocal tracks down here, these purple ones. And then you've got all of Gellert's stuff here. Then you've got sound effects, footsteps, and then down here in blue you've got all the ambiences, and then there's a like, it's weird that there's only one music track. That bothers me for some reason. It feels like everything else gets a lot of everything else gets like, you know, its own little section, but music gets one track. And then down here you have all the reverbs and you have all the reverbs, and you have the effects and stuff down here at the bottom, the sort of ambient tracks that other tracks are routed into. Yeah. At what point do you start pre-rendering and nesting? So, I try not to do that. I think the only equivalent I have for that is with the music, where I'll have a separate project file just for the sake of for the sake of just keeping the project file at a slightly more manageable size. But I mean, if I was kind of trying to save up space, I would probably nest the monster sounds as much as possible. But I'm very lucky that I have a computer that can handle all this. It does seem more manageable with audio. It is like I think if this was a film, like my brain would melt. But I think I'm very used to working like this, like with the Tower and Folklore, and there's another project that I'm forgetting the name of. I'm used to having it all on one project file. What I will say is that what I'll do is after I finish an episode, so Reaper does this cool thing where, so you see up here, you've got regions, these regions here. Reaper has the ability to just export regions, which is incredibly useful. So it means like if I want to do an export of episode 1, I can just hit export, go to the region matrix, hit this one, and then it would export episode 1. But I have a separate project file over here, which is for mastering. So each episode gets I mix down like a lossless version of it, bring it into this file. So the exports from this are at -24 and they're unmastered. And then when I put them in here, they get mastered, and then these exports are normalized to -16. So it means that they're going into the mastering sequence at an even volume, and then they're getting boosted. And then also, this is where I add in Ella's housekeeping over here.
Hello, it's Ella here, right at the very.
That's where I do all the housekeeping stuff, and then it's just a case of bringing them all in, making sure it all works, everything sounds okay through the mastering chain. And for the mastering for episode 4, I exported the bits that I'd done, and then just sort of dragged Kai's bits into the middle, and then that's how we did episode 4. So it meant that like after I'd done my bits, I could just sort of wait for Kai to finish and then just stick it in there. Yeah, so that's the kind of master. And then for the actual, just to kind of round off the discussion about mastering, I run this through a slightly tweaked preset in Ozone 9. It's just an equalizer, a dynamics imager, a maximizer. What I'd done previously was that I would add like a tape emulator to kind of give it a bit of width, to give it a bit of stereo width. I'd add just a tiny little bit of compression, and then I'd add a limiter just to kind of make sure that everything was kind of hitting the top. But then I kind of was able to get my hands on a copy of Ozone 9, and yeah, I love using this. The presets, like Ozone has this really cool thing where you can add a reference track. I don't really have much use for it, but if you have an audio drama that you're like, I love how this sounds, you can upload it as a reference track, and then it'll try and match the dynamics and things and try and come up with a way to emulate it, which is a really cool little feature. And in music, when it comes to mastering, what people recommend is that you have a reference track that you listen to, so you get the sound in your ears before you start doing the mastering. So, which is very, very handy. And then also I've got mini meters down here. So I've got I've got mini meters down here, so I can kind of have a better look at.
You are. So. Well, now.
I can kind of look at the stereo field here and see, like, make sure everything's even. I can look at the spectrogram. I can kind of make sure it's hitting -16 roughly. And then also I've got an EQ and just a general waveform. So it's like, and this mini meters, by the way, it's a program you can download it on itch.io. you basically load it into your audio session as a plugin, and then I put it on the master track, and then you get these lovely little scopes that you can use, which they look pretty, but also they are actually quite useful when it comes to doing mixes and things. Because then it means when you've got scenes like in episode 5. Oh, where have you gone? Episode 5? You're over here. Where we've got a scene in stereo, which starts here, I think.
Fire safe,
It'll be fine.
unattended.
I need to put them. Yep. You can see where the stereo field is
It'll
landing.
be fine.
Unattended.
Trust me.
Is no one else worried about this? I am, but it's tomorrow's problem. The cottage is built out of stone.
I keep having.
It's just a really useful little tool. Speaking of normalizing, I'm just starting to learn that when it comes to editing multiple tracks from different sources, what's your process for multi-source leveling to get everyone at the same volume in the mix? I mean, when it comes to when I'm doing like a non-fiction editing thing, like for my day job, I say that because it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like a day job. It's a freelance gig. It's a freelance gig that I've been working solidly on for the past 4 years. So the way I do it is that with Reaper you can bring in an external editor. So I have that linked up to. Is this going to work? Oh no! Tell you what, I'll open it. I'll open a file. I've got Reaper linked to RX9 because I can't afford RX10 right now. So RX9, for people who are not familiar, it's an audio cleanup program. It's very, very useful. But one of the things that it has a loudness control. So basically, if I'm editing interview tape, what I'll do is I'll open both files separately in RX9, and I'll go to loudness control. And then what it does is it analyzes it in terms of LUFS, and then the integrated here. And then what I tend to do is you want to have this be -24, and then a tolerance of about 5. So I'm going to leave these up if you want to take these settings down. And then you just click render, and then what it'll do is it'll normalize it to a consistent volume. So it's a really good way to, like, if you're setting up a project, if you're setting up like different audio sources, running them all through this particular module, or even if you don't have this, just normalizing each track to -24, it means, because loudness is quite a useful metric for it, because then it just means that everything's hitting roughly the same consistent volume throughout. Audio source. or multiple audio condiments. So yeah, I think loudness control comes in RX8 as well, in older versions of RX, and it's definitely there in RX10 as well, because I learned how to do this in a workshop from someone. It was a seminar on audio cleanup, and they were using RX10, and it was really useful to me because basically we were working with some god awful tape at that point, but just this little trick actually really helped, because it just meant that, because I think when it comes to my skills with a Z, for audio stuff, I think mixing is probably my weakest point. I think mixing's where I tend to fall down a bit, and it's something that I'm definitely trying to kind of improve on. But something that has helped is kind of learning little tricks like that is the thing. I think Audition has loudness normalization, but I didn't know what the LK, FS, and True Peak meant. I'll be honest, I don't really know what they mean either. But for broadcast stuff, you want it at -24. For podcasts, you want the mix to be at -16. But for editing stuff, putting stuff at -24, I'm sure somebody cleverer than I am or more knowledgeable than I am will be able to tell me why you do that. But as a working audio editor, I tend to have things at -24. If the volumes are drastically different. If you're wanting a slightly more kind of manual approach, I tend to also read the scopes here, or specifically on the mixing board, like the levels here, and I try to, for vocals, I kind of try to keep the peak at around -6, between -6 and no louder than -3, and that's kind of another way of tracking that. If you don't want to bother with loudness control, it's a much looser idea. And also, if you just want to gaze upon the full horror of this series, because that's not even all of them. Yeah, I believe you gave me that advice when filming Tycho as well, the -24. Yes. 24 and 16 are the magic numbers. -14 for music on Spotify. So, oh God. So the thing is, like, this project file does look scary. I will fully admit that. But, you know, it's the seeing someone after 3 years versus seeing them every day. Like I've been starting on this. I remember when this was an empty project file. I remember when this project file was, didn't have the Kelpie or the Swarm or the Lantern Man. So it's just been like, it's this machine that's been getting gradually bigger and bigger and bigger to the point where it's become truly horrifying. I'm just happy it works in this. So first of all, I'm gonna show you a little thing. So
Total transformation.
oh, that's the wrong thing. So because there was a big gap in the middle of the episodes, where Kai's bit was gonna go. For when I was sending off mixes, I tended to add something just in the middle for just to keep anyone listening on their toes. Did I put one in here? Oh no, it's a different scene. I believe it's here. Yeah.
Oil, 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 oil.
So that's Tobias saying oil over again to make me uncomfortable. When they were doing a pickup for something. Let me get the other. What were the other ones? Let's. Do I have the output still? Yeah. So for the first take.
Time to see. No, sorry.
And in no
Paired?
Thing to a. I'm sorry. Things out. Went. Doing it for this end.
Is this where it
Then
finishes?
why tell me all of this? Why give me that power of your head? I'm not sure that matters.
Yeah. So this is the first the first one. Hi, Ella. I hope you're enjoying episode 4. I hope it's going well. How do you think it's going? I hope it's going really well. So this is the bit where Kai's sound design happens. So I haven't put that in yet. So instead, you've just got this little interlude here for you. I hope you're enjoying it. But yes, back to the episode after the supermarket bit. So we cut back to the cottage now. So if you want like a concrete example of what editor brain sounds like, that's what editor. That's the sound of an editor who has been working for about 3 days on this episode. So that's the little Easter egg. Did I change it for the second cut? I can't remember. How many cuts did I do of this? I did 6 cuts of this. I'm trying to remember. Did I change that?
You say that. Ones, the more people. But hypnotizing point of us. Go home. Honestly, Gwen, you scare me.
Hi,
It's the same-
Ella.
it's the same one.
I hope you're. I think I just kept it the same. Okay. Anyway, so we cut back to the cottage. So I want to say, going in, I really love this scene. I think it's one of my sort of favorite set pieces from the whole series. Mainly because so much of it was like, stapled and sellotaped together in a way I'll explain in a second. Basically, so first of all, I sent the first cut through, and then the note came through from Ella, which was it needs to sound nastier, which is always a good note to get. And then also there's a bit here that I'll talk about when we get there. That is more about kind of putting in an extra action that wasn't there in the script that took a very long time to figure out. But it ended up sounding really good. So I'm gonna do this in 2 bits. So this is 2 scenes that have been kind of stapled together, and I'm gonna kind of play the first scene, and then I'm gonna talk about how we stapled the scenes together and how that's changed.
So, are we going to talk about it?
I don't know. Did your near-death experience make you reconsider anything about the way you're currently handling the apocalypse?
That's not fair.
Isn't it? I had to watch you drown. Do you have any idea how frightening that was?
It wasn't exactly sunshine and roses
But
for
it
me.
didn't have to happen. You could have stopped it.
And something worse could have happened instead. Neither of us understands how this works, Morgan. We're off the map. If I tried, then...
Morgan! Die! I need your help! Oh my god.
Perry. There's so much blood!
Okay, so that's where the cut is. That's where we go into the second scene. The way it happened in the script and the way it happens in the first cut, I might play you the first cut actually, just so you can get an idea of what it sounded like. So this is
He who I'm supposed to matters.
I had to watch you drown.
Yes, back to the episode after the supermarket bit. So we cut back to the cottage. Now. So this is closer to what it sounded. What is closer to what it was in the script.
So, are we going to talk about it?
I don't know. Did your near-death experience make you reconsider anything about the way you're currently handling the apocalypse?
That's not fair.
Isn't it? I had to watch you drown. Do you have any idea how frightening that was?
It wasn't exactly sunshine and roses
But
for
it
me.
didn't have to happen. You could have stopped it.
And something worse could have happened instead. Neither of us understands how this works, Morgan. We're off the map. If I tried, then...
Morgan! Die! I need your help! Oh my god.
Perry. There's so much blood!
Die! They're slipping! Grab their shirts, not their arms!
So
Morgan!
that's how it sounded in the original. That was the original cut. But then the notes came back. So also, actually, I'll talk about that in a second. But the note came back, and Ella was like, "Can we make this an action? Can we actually have them going over to the truck, taking Perry out of the truck, going to the cottage, kicking down the cottage door, and then starting the rest of the scene?" So I was talking about this with somebody else, with another editor who's worked with Ella on a couple of things, Oliver Morris, and we were saying that one of the wonderful things about working with Ella is that, again, Ella is a good director. Ella will give you notes and not spare you. will not give you notes. Will not temper the notes based on how much work is involved, if that makes sense. Like, obviously, it's never like we need to completely re-record this episode or we need to completely redo this scene, but is not afraid to be like, can we make this bigger? Can we make this much bigger? Can we go back and do this again? And I really appreciate that. And sometimes it can be frustrating. In this particular case, I was like, how the hell are we going to do that? Because we didn't have all the recordings of the scene. You know, you have Di saying Perry, and then when we rolled the next scene, it started pretty much bang on the line of "There's so much blood," and I was like, we don't have any effort sounds, for that. Except we did. So this involves some bloopers. So the way this bit works here.
There's so much blood!
Di, they're slipping! Grab their shirts, not their arms!
The way we recorded that was that we had the actors physically come into the office and carrying our stunt body, Hobbs here, as Hobbs was understudying for Perry. So they kind of all came in and they were all sort of holding Hobbs like this, so they had that feeling of actually holding a body, which was quite fun. So that was how we kind of recorded that. But it was a big movement, right? So they had to kind of move into the room and then put it down. And then for some reason, I can't remember what the reason was, but it was just like, right, well, we've got Tobias's line, but we need Angharad's line. And then for some reason, like, Tobias and Angharad like just stopped doing their lines for some. Like, I'm gonna play the thing. Hang on. Yeah, can we get a little cheer for taking it? Hey.
Yeah, it's so trimmed in because they're gonna be freaking out.
One pickup.
Oh yeah.
Can we do the beginning?
Oh, there's so much blood!
Is it here? Oh, I'll play through the rest of the bloopers later on. Yeah, so it's this take here, I think.
Dice!
So I didn't know if you wanted the line in. Sorry, it's my bad.
Unless you do your line as well.
No. They don't need the line. I'm just doing the scene.
You have a go.
Are you guys gonna start the scene? Like...
I will do it. I'm sorry.
Hey, actually, yeah, the constipation take.
I can't breathe. Okay. Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Tobias, say your line. Then Angharad, say your line. Then you know what? Nicole, say yours. Whenever ready.
So, the upshot of this particular confusion was that it meant we had about 6 to 8 seconds of effort sounds. And then, so when it came to doing the episode, where's that scene? Yeah.
I need your help! Oh my god.
Hurry.
So all of this audio here. So that's Nicole. And that's taken from extra takes of the scene where Gwen is running through the supermarket. Basically, I took some of the extra takes there and kind of cut those together. Like really messy editing. Like you could, like, if you look at it, like the cuts are all over the place. Like, but then also on this track here, we have basically bloopers from Diane Morgan. And then ended up using so it meant that you have this wonderful
There's so much blood.
So where that line is there, that's where the second scene starts. That's where the cut was. Lou, Dr. Lou, I have fled. I've consumed the obligatory haggis and rung back to my hotel. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. I hope it was good haggis. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was good haggis. Well, yeah. So we're talking about this scene because I said earlier on, like, I think this is one of my favorite scenes in terms of the whole series, in terms of set pieces. Because the thing, like, so it's a very noisy scene. Like, if you like, look at this mess. Like, look at this mess down here. So this is all the body movement. So. Is there a phone? Hang on. Sounds like there's a phone going off somewhere. Oh no, right, okay, so it's... Oh, it's just some background noise that's been caught. Oh, that's fine, I can live with that. The food was great, but I'm too autistic for networking. Oh, I feel that. So the key thing about this bit, right? So actually, let's go through this in bits. So first of all, there is a good... So, I was talking about actions where you have a lead up, the actual action, and then the aftermath. So another example of that is here, where you have this tool being used, this little spanner. So in this case, there's no lead up to it. It is, you just start with the action.
About the way you're currently handling the apocalypse.
That's not fair.
Isn't it? I had to watch
And then
you...
that little noise there, that's your aftermath. That's the little extra noise that kind of makes it that makes it more real, that makes it more alive. Is this tiny little, like, well, what, the spanner doesn't just disappear. You hear it being put down, and it's also a really good way of indicating movement, and it punctuates the line as well. And it's this tiny little sound that just adds does a lot of heavy lifting.
That's not fair.
Isn't it? I had to watch you drown. Do you have any idea how frightening that was?
Like, it's an underappreciated skill with sound design, but like you can use it. You can do a lot with people just putting objects down, like how they put them down, where they put them down. Like you can communicate so much about a character or a scene or a mood with like how people are interacting with tools and things.
That's not fair.
Isn't it? I had to watch you drown. Do you have any idea how frightening that was?
It wasn't exactly sunshine and roses
But
for
it
me.
didn't have to happen. You could
And then
have
you've got
stopped...
this lovely subtle sound design of the truck coming back.
You could have stopped it.
And something worse could have happened instead. Neither of us understands how this works, Morgan. We're off the map. If I tried, then...
Morgan! Die! I need your help! Oh my god.
Harry.
So, it's little touches before it gets into to kind of build up the tension. Geller, dogs, amazing for doing this. Amazing for building up like little tiny bits of tension. Like, Geller is so good at making distressing scenes more distressing, because we seem to be more emotionally like attached to dogs in this case. So you've got this movement here, and there's a lot going on, and it's quite confusing. But you've kind of got Gel as the emotional anchor of the scene.
There's so much blood.
And the thing is, editing in this whole bit here, sloppy as hell. Like I've already kind of been over the fact that the vocals for this bit are cut together from bloopers, and other scenes, because we didn't have this in the script initially. But also, if the music is covering up all the stitching, because if you... like the ambience just stops. And then also like this sound here is slowed down and it's kind of stretchy and springy. But I just needed it to be a bit longer. And then if you listen to these sounds on their own, you can tell that they're just repeated sounds. Like you can sort of, if you take the bits on their own, you can see the stitching. But when you smash it all together, it comes together really, really well. It's confusing, it's tense, but at the same time, like you can tell what's happening. And then when we move into the next scene, we bring more of that in. You've got these kind of handling sounds here. These awful, awful tap dancing footsteps. You know, which again, awful on their own. But if you add, sorry, add the extra sound. It's just these awful footsteps. Sound just so obvious, but if you stick everything together,
There's so much blood!
Die! They're slipping! Grab their shirts, not their arms! Morgan, clear the table!
Get me water and a clean cloth. Now!
So another thing that I really like about this, and it's another example of why recording with like an omnidirectional mic in this case, or blocking it like you would a play, was really helpful. So I've got the mic on omnidirectional mode for this scene, and what it does is it adds to the sort of franticness of the scene, in that like you people are in the background and they sound like they're moving around, and it sounds like everyone's on deck and moving about, and Gwen's kind of at the front.
There's so much blood!
Die! They're slipping! Grab their shirts, not their arms! Morgan, clear the table!
Get me water and a clean cloth. Now!
On it!
What happened?
We were attacked.
Like the music is very much hiding the stitches here, because like these footsteps here, really obvious.
Clean cloth. Now!
Or the ripping and the
Get me water and a clean cloth. Now!
On it!
What happened?
We were attacked. Oh, help me prop their legs up.
But you're fine!
Perry was attacked first.
How long have they been out?
Thanks. Press down.
Also, I just want to take a second to talk about tap continuity. That's the same tap from episode 2. Very much wanted to make sure that those sounds were consistent.
But you're fine!
Perry was attacked first.
How long have they been out?
Thanks. Press down on any open wounds you can see. We need to stop the bleeding.
Gwen, how long have they been out?
Just over an hour. Die! You are not helping, so either pull yourself together and do something or get out of my way.
Okay. What do you need?
Wake them up. Morgan, I need all the medical supplies you've got. Now!
Okay.
Hey, Bear. Can't believe the damn cowlick survived all of this. Rest assured that
So
even
in the original draft, in the original cut, what happened here was all the sound design disappeared. So it was just Di talking.
Hey, Bear.
Mainly because I was just like, I don't know what Gwen's doing in this situation. I was just like, I don't know like what level of surgery is currently being performed. But either way, it's most likely going to be really complicated and squishy, and I don't want to do it. But we ended up coming up with a compromise.
Can't believe the damn cowlick survived all of this. Rest assured that even in life-threatening peril, you still have perfect hair. I need you to wake up now, okay? Because if you don't wake up, then things are going to be really bad, and that is not going to happen, because that is not how this story goes. You don't meet your end without me. We're a match set, right? Butch and Sundance, Thelma and Louise, Skelder and Mully. You're not going to leave me like this. Wake up, Red.
Everything hurts.
I know.
Oh, I'm tired.
I know, but you can't go to sleep yet, okay?
Anything else?
Help me hold their legs still.
It's okay.
Oh yeah, so this was one of the moments where Ella was like, "It doesn't sound unpleasant enough." So
Still.
added in, I think it's carrots, or it's celery. I beg your pardon. This delightful. That's a celery right there. Very uncomfortable.
It's okay. Hey, look at me. Talk to me about the Mabinogi. You love doing that. And you're a hell of a lot more interesting than my...
Also, I think it's worth saying, right, for the actors, like they didn't know what the sounds were. They didn't know what what was happening. They just, like, Robin was just like, you need to, like, something happens here and it hurts, and it's wonderful working with actors like this, because it just means that you get an action like this, and Robin sells it, despite the fact that they had no idea what it was going to sound like in the end. But it means that the sound design is more of a complementary kind of role, right? Like,
It's okay.
just a really beautiful reaction sound.
Talk to me about the Mabinogi. You love doing that. And you're a hell of a lot more interesting than my secondary school Welsh teacher.
Oh, no, bar.
Humour me.
You know Gwydion?
One of my favourites, the cheeky bastard.
I always thought there was something queer about his relationship with Lay. Like trans. Because Gwydion was...
If you're interested in the full lecture behind this particular line, just ask Ella in the next listen along stream. Last thing to talk about before we go on to some bloopers. This scene here. So it's quite quiet in the mix, but so this is a scene with Morgan and Gwen, and in the script, Di is snoring in the background, and so basically for this scene, what I did was I told Tobias to lie on the sofa and have a nap, basically. And I think, do I have the picture? I think Ross took a picture. Hold on. See if we got it. Yes, there it is. So for this scene, this is what Tobias was doing. like Tobias was just had a nap during this scene, which was rather lovely. Curled up with Hobbs, and I just like with our Gullert, with Hobbs the lion, it makes me really happy that I absolutely loved the I loved the experience of recording this series. It's one of the best recording experiences I've ever had with an audio drama. Not gonna lie, the couch looks very, very comfy, cozy. It is. It's an amazing. So it's over here, so you can. It's got a lot of shit on it right now, but it's not very. But it's a couch we actually got off of Charlotte Ryder's. So Charlotte Ryder, who plays Heather in Middle Below, her mum was selling sofas, was getting rid of some sofas, and at this point I was kind of like, I need a sofa for my office, and so we managed to get our hands on this. It's glorious. It's covered in cat hair. Like, I keep cleaning it, and yet every time I look at it, there is more cat hair. Why? And also like Poppy's kind of scratched some bits of it and stuff. So it's ours now. Like we can't sell it because it's been lived in too much. yeah, I loved recording this series, and it makes me very, very happy that we had. It makes me very happy that I was able to have such a cozy, comfortable environment for this cast and this crew and this production. The fact that a lot of the time where, it was like, okay, well, you can take a break now. People would just stay in here. They chill out on the sofa, and it's important to me that my workspace is a comfortable space for even people who are visiting. Because for all that the sofa is there, I very rarely sit on it. Because I've got this chair here. I use it for napping very occasionally when I'm pretending that I'm working. That's how you know you got the good vibes. I think that's more or less what I'm trying to say. Is that it makes me very happy that I was able to provide a cozy space that had good vibes, that people felt comfortable in. That made me really happy. We also had, so Ross would stand over there by the cat tower and use it as a standing desk, which is also just very funny to me. But yeah, I loved recording Camlann. I had a really good experience. And it's pictures like that, like that make me happy. But yeah, if you listen to this on its own. And then I basically decided, look, Gel's asleep as well. So you get this delightful double snoring.
Bath's ready.
What?
I made you a bath.
Insert Poppy snoring here. I think I do actually believe in my sound library. I do actually have a recording of Poppy sleeping. That sounds that's a lot less creepier than it sounds, I promise. Where has it gone? Samples. Dogs, curiosities, actions, ambiences. Oh, where's my? Oh wait, no, I've got them. I've got them in the library. What do we have? Cat noises. I have so many animals. Most of this is the dog library I bought for Galert. Probably big sleepy squeaks. Oh no. Was it not this? Maybe, oh, it's this one. That's Poppy sleeping. She's such a weird cat. Okay. Now put some reverb on it and use it as a distant. Well, I used it for I did a stream ages ago where I turned it into a sample. I sampled it. Yeah. That's a little bit of it, but yeah. I put the snoring sound into a sampler and used it to make a song. Yeah, so there's some snoring there, which is really lovely. There is, I think it's just walking movement in here. Yeah, it's just walking movement, and then we're in the credits. But yeah, so that's sort of my bits of episode 4, which I really love. Like I'm really happy with episode 4, and really wonderful working with Kai. Like Kai's a fantastic sound designer. Work with them, hire them, give them money, give them lots of money, because yeah, they're really good at what they do. So let's listen to some bloopers.
Everybody?
Yeah, can we get a
Whee!
little cheer for taking
Woo,
it?
woo, 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 woo. Take 100.
Take 100.
This is not the song that you sing seriously.
No.
Like, you know,
It's
like,
followed immediately by the line, everybody dies.
So, in this hypothesis, what's step 3?
Total transformation. We become them.
Hey, you do your job, I'll do mine. So much of these really so much of the really serious scenes, they're really fun to edit because you'll get to the end and there'll be a really dramatic last line, and then you'll just hear Ella like, "Okay," or like "amazing." So it's like what it sounds like, because obviously I'm putting it in with all the sound design, so it just sounds like there's this really emotional scene. And then, like, Ella comes out from behind a bush or something, and then it's like, "Oh, okay, amazing." It's just very entertaining. Editor brain. Yeah, so this next one. So I talked a little bit about this when we talked with Kai, but this was the first time. This is the first experience we had where somebody else's voice came through on the walkie-talkie. And it was quite it did not occur to me when I bought the walkie-talkies that other people could tune into them.
Tapped into another world.
Yeah, someone tuned in because they're going to be freaking out.
What the?
Oh god, a horror movie starting.
Have we? Oh my god. Okay, that's fine. We'll just quickly
Imagine I've been doing the whole speech to someone. That's amazing.
just gonna quickly change the channel there. I'm just gonna go change it on the other one.
We'll get a little knock on the door later.
So there's a fire station down there. It might genuinely be picking up.
We interrupt
No, I don't know. But either that or some construction workers are having a really weird day. Can I ask for one pickup?
Oh yeah.
Can we? Yeah. So that was. It happened a couple of times, but each case it was just a case of I'm just going to change the channel. So yeah, that is a risk of using walkie-talkies in your recording, and you're not in a like heavily soundproofed Faraday cage studio. Is that very occasionally you might get other people talking on the radio on your walkie-talkies. What do we have here? So some pickups for the last scene. Can I ask for one pickup?
Oh yeah.
Can we do the beginning again?
Mm-hmm.
For a very, very silly reason. So and Garrett, when you said grab their shirt, not their arms, it sounded.
Did I say shit?
No. It was the other word.
Oh, there's so much blood!
Die, they're slipping. Grab their shirt, not their arms.
It sounded like you said
Arse.
grab their shirt, not their arse. Yeah. just so.
Die now! It's not time.
Die.
So that's just, and like, so I was glad. I was in a very, very, very weird way. It made me really happy to go back and listen to this and go, oh no, that is actually what she said. I didn't imagine that. Yeah. So, and then these are where I got the breathing sounds for the truck movement at the beginning of the scene. I don't remember what happened, but I think it was just right. We need to get a pickup on Morgan's line or something like that. But it just meant that like Angharad and Tobias just wouldn't start the scene, or they'd trip over each other. It was.
Die.
So I didn't know if you wanted the line in. Sorry, it's my bad.
Unless you do your line as well.
No. They don't need the line. I'm just doing the scene.
You have a go.
They just didn't. Are you guys gonna start the scene? Like...
I will do it. Sorry.
Hey, actually, the constipation take.
I can't breathe. Okay. Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Tobias, say your line. Then I can't Go again.
It was just the effort pickups, or as Shads calls them, your philo sex noises. There's so like keeping everybody on their toes, and everyone do the lines as they're written down on the script. There's been a few episodes where we've had to work with Walla in this series, and I've never worked with Walla before. I've decided I really don't like it. It doesn't. There is no way. And this is very much coming from a place of like I've done it maybe a couple of times, and I don't know. It just I'm yet to hear Walla that is convincing, like or that isn't like really really melodramatic. I don't know whether that's how it's recorded or if that's just the nature of it. I don't know, but like I mean, it worked. Like in the scenarios that we've used it works. But we've recorded maybe 2 hours worth of Walla, and I've only maybe used about 15 seconds of it. Like I think it's a Walla. So it's sometimes it's called Walla, sometimes it's called like a loop group, where it's basically it's crowd sounds basically. So like. If you've got like an audience of people reacting to a monster, like what we did was we brought the cast in, we had them all stand around the mic, and then basically we shouted out an action, and then they reacted to it as a crowd, and then recorded that a few times to kind of get the sound. So it's crowd sounds. Every single script I get for Woebegone, I have to record Walla, and I have said some incredibly. See, this is the thing. I can't do it. I can't do Walla stuff because my brain, because because I used to be captain of the improv team because I'm a nerd. Like, it just means that my brain goes in to do a bit. Like, it's just like I can't. Like my brain can't stop me from making it funny when that's not what we want. And obviously so much effort Walla just sounds like sex noises, especially if it's just one person. Uncomfortable to listen to. Anyway. Anyway, if anyone has any questions about episode 4, now's the time to ask them. Let me tell you about Fight Walla. Yes, that too. Oh my goodness. It's more just like, no, we're friends. No, uncomfortable. No, thank you. Anyway. So, okay. No streams from me next week. I said this in the middle of the stream, but I'll say it again just in case anyone wasn't here. I can't not make it not sound like Street Fighter sounds. Okay, I respect that. I gotta. There's a pack. Where is it? Is it voices? Hang on. There's animal sounds and voices. There's vocalizations. Oh yeah. So
Look out! Look out! Cover me! Cover me!
I got these in a sound pack, and like I think it was like from an action film. It was great.
Taking cover! Go, go, go!
There's also grunts.
Huh. Look out! Look out! Cover me!
I love these. I love them. Unironically, I love them very much. We've got some zombie stuff. Ooh, that's loud and annoying. Those are for games. Yeah. Oh, absolutely, they're for games. It's just very funny. Worm vocalization. What are you? Uncomfortable is what you are. Ant vocalization? Okay, I'm going to stop doing these. Right. So, no streams next week because I'm on holiday. I'm going to be in New York. We are still releasing an episode next week, but there's not going to be a listen along stream. There won't be a listen along stream, and then there won't be any streams next week. I will be doing behind the scenes stuff as normal when I get back on April the 1st. But next week I'm going to be resting and not doing any work. I'm having a break. I've not been on a proper holiday in 2.5 years. Like I've earned this. And yeah, I'm looking forward to going on holiday and having a break. And also seeing Billy Joel. Still very silly reason to go to New York. Anyway, so I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. I hope next week is good for you as well. Hopefully we will see you back in a couple of weeks' time where we'll be doing more Camlann. We are over halfway through the series. This is a 9-episode season, and we're on episode 6 now. So we're definitely getting into the final stretch. Like when I come back, I'm editing the final 2 episodes, which is wild to me. It is wild to me that we are so close to the end of this series. It's been it was like basically all of last year was set putting this project together. It feels very strange to be kind of towards the end of it. But I will have more words about that when we actually get to the end of the series. It'll be a lot easier for me to talk about after I've actually finished editing the damn thing. But yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for coming along. Thank you very much for being here. As always, I will hopefully see you soon. And I will see you, hopefully, much more rested after I get back from New York. Good night.